without further ado, I am very excited to introduce Mr. Jim Juilleret and his daughter Kate, who will be giving you the
Very, very happy to be here, and thank you all for coming. My daughter, a while back, said, "Dad, it's time," so here I am. Tonight's story or program is going to be about the restaurant. I just so happened that I was working there. So. It went 112 years, 3 centuries.
Wow.
Started in 1895. As you can see here, this is the original owner. Now, the reason that we have him up here this way is because the Juillerets came from Switzerland by boat. They landed in St. Ignace, Michigan. There was 7 of them, 1 perished on the way. One of the survivors was Joseph Antoine. He later said, "I'm 14, I'm going to lie about my age, I'm going to join the Civil War." He joined the Civil War at 14, served 5 full years. He was a drummer. This right here is the actual, oh, I got tape on here. This, right here, this is the actual drum. It's located in the basement of the museum. The reason it is so small is because he was so short. Look at his size. Not a real tall fellow. And can you imagine at 14? They cut the drum down in half, right here, reconfigured the drum to fit him. That's the actual drum that he carries for the full 5 years. After the war, he was then married here. This is a Martha and Joseph Antoine. Then came down to Harbor Springs. They purchased a building, and remember, they were always fishermen up above, so when they came down, they became fishermen here. And they opened up an ice cream shop. And they sold candy, ice cream, and boat livery. One of the biggest things was the boat livery. Next slide.
Yeah, I got it.
There we are. This is actually the very... No, that's not what I want.
Okay.
I really like this one if I could. We'll get to that other one sooner. We are, this is progress, in progress as they say, work in progress. Anyway, this particular one right here, as you can see, is the bill of sale. The very, very first bill of sale, 1901. My grandfather, which is Ed Juilleret, we'll say Ed now, was in the 8th grade, or 9th grade when they came down in 1895. He then went through school and graduated from Harbor Springs Public Schools. Cute fellow up here. In doing so, he was there for 5 years until in 1901. He set the nets, go to school, pull the nets, fix the fish, sell the fish, inside, outside, wherever he could, to help with the help with household. Well, 1900, his mother did pass away. Excuse me, his father passed away. Okay, Joseph Antoine. Here was the bill of sale. Listen to this. This is kind of a cute thing. It says, bill of sale, 1901, 25 rowboats, 3 catboats, 3 canoes, and 1 tricycle boat. What on earth was a tricycle boat? Well, he made, Joseph, the original owner, made this. It was a paddle, stern wheel paddler, and he would take and give rides back and forth between Harbor Point and Harbor Springs. The cute thing was it was so quiet that the dog ran with him. Never missed a beat, all the time. Well, as we move along now with transitioning, we find that he was able to sell fish, etc. And there was between 1900 and 1912, they did what they could to get going. This particular, let's back up. I want to back up just for a second here. I want to go right here. This particular, the reason I'm showing you this is because this is the depot in Harbor Springs. Did you know that the tracks were on the north side? Did you know they switched to the south side? South side was later on. What they did is they came in. This is actually State Street. That's the boardwalk or the wooden walkway. They came in and filled this whole thing in with as much fill as they could. The very first depot was built on pilings because they were in the water. They then came and later on, like keep in mind that I want to show you right here. See this? That is the predecessor to the Little Harbor Club. It was a sawmill. Okay? So here we go. This is State Street all the way out. Now what happened here is that they then filled this in, blah, blah, blah. Well, back then there was no police force between 1900, or excuse me, between Monday and Friday, no police force, okay? They all went home on weekends. Well, Juilleret's, as it was then, had 3 windows that looked out on the bay. Well, guess what happened one Sunday? Some gentleman hired a whole bunch of people, and they moved the building up against Juilleret's, so Juilleret's was not the last building on State Street. So we boarded up the windows. We couldn't see anyway. So anyway, that was a little tidbit there. They did eventually keep this railroad going, filled in the other side, and moved the tracks on the other side. This is us in 1912. Grandpa, which was Ed Juilleret. The reason I keep saying that is because if you look at your brochure, if you look here that says Louis Edward, blah, blah, there is a family, what, J.A.J., Louis, J.A.J., J.A.J., J.A.J. for initials, okay? So we're kind of, we'll get there. In 1912, this was the very first, whoop, I'm having trouble with my pointer. See this right here? The very first soda fountain ever delivered in Harbor Springs. Came up from Chicago. And if you were in my restaurant in 27, or in 07, it's still there. It's the one that was in the dining room. If you looked up the dining room and saw us cooking, we were cooking behind that. Now, also, they did kind of a unique thing. He said, let's build a tall table, a next table, a next table, and a small table. Little kids table, children, so on. Then he ran stools down through here. Well, guess what? Notice the arrow? What's that? Is that a stool? Do I see a stool? Hey! 1912.
Oh my God.
And it still can use it today. It has never been resurfaced, anything. That's the actual stool. He also came across this thing and says, hey, if I do this, then the kids can't spend the money other places. Let's do this. Good for trade at Harbor Springs, 5 cents. So there we go. That was the first charge card, by the way. We also were in the ice cream business later on, and in doing so, I'm getting ahead of myself, but I would like to say that my grandfather Ed actually owned three restaurants. I'll get to that. And we also had transportation when we were doing ice cream on that boat. Well, notice the things right here. Again, over 100 years old. Here it is, right here. Wow. It would open up like this. There was a large metal container that slid in here. They closed it up, put the top on the metal container, and then buttoned her up, shipped her to Petoskey, even to some of your locations on Harbor Point when you had your parties, okay? Also, just an idea of what they did, they fished a lot. That was just some of the fish that's being displayed there in this photograph. So in 1915, what he did is he said, I'm not making anything, let's do something else. So they got the paper business. They took on the whole shebang right here. That was the news depot. They did the newspaper. My dad said he got so tired of peddling papers out on Harbor Point because you couldn't do them on the sidewalk and there was no pavement. He'd be peddling them out there at 6 o'clock at night because they came in by the train. So, anyway, that's one of his, he said I quit 3 times. If you look at the 2 pictures here, notice that there is a little bit of difference between the size here and the size there. Well, if you note back, you got it? Okay, I'm going to go back to this one too, okay? One more back. Yeah, right there. If you notice this right here, this is south. This is the waterfront. Okay. Grandpa went up and bought the very first post office ever in Harbor Springs.
How did you buy it? We just
Tore it all apart, brought it down, and did this. He kept this building. How? He split it right here, dug a hole, slid this up. You still have the building. You didn't have to build anything to the north because that was empty. This took its place. He then built across to the present Bar Harbor. Remember, this wall is still here. He filled it in with hardwood floor, and guess what hardwood floor? The one that still is in Juilleret's in 07. Okay, here we go. During that period of time, here's the floor, and here's the tin ceiling. The tin ceiling that was there when we sold. And we're going to show you a little picture of that.
tin ceiling?
Yeah, there it is. This is Butch Hogan, who was helping us quite a bit all the time. Well, towards the end of the year, he said, why don't you pull those tiles down, let's see what's up there. Well, the original ceiling was there. The original ceiling that you saw in 12 was there, because this was that side of the building. Okay? Also, if you notice, the tombsters. Okay, anybody know anything about them? Okay, and you do, okay. In 21, Grandpa said, let's expand, let's do this. Let's make a dance band. So they had a cabaret, very first cabaret in Michigan. What happened here is that 1922, 23, the band came up, and this gentleman right here was Angel Renz, I'm sorry. He actually wrote with Joe Alden the tune Sleepy Time Gal. First written and produced. He also said that it wasn't, he said, Hoagie Carmichael even came and played with them. He stepped in, played with them during that period of time. We're going to give you just a little caption of Sleepy Time Gal.
Bear with me while I pull it up. Bear with her because I can't do it.
So where that bandit sitting, which way were they facing with that window in the back?
Well, actually, if you were in our restaurant, you came in like this in the front door, you walked over like this, you go in the dining room and you looked at us and we're cooking, that was that one.
So that was in the back of the kitchen?
That was back, that was behind, that was the very first part, very first. And you notice the back bar, that's, I'll get to that back bar too.
Mhm.
I can't get back.
No.
Sorry, one
Where
second.
he was taking down the tile, we're gonna talk about that back bar. Now that's another soda fountain that was brought to Juilleret's. Remember the first one, okay? Well, this is the second one, and remember they were both still there.
Here's hoping you all can hear this. rest on your own.
Now, what also happened is that this was the hardwood floor from the very first post office. We talked about that. The cabaret was so popular that during 1921 and 1927, they danced the center of the floor out. It had to be replaced. So many people had danced in the 6-foot section all the way down that they had, and the hardwood floor would pop. I don't know if you're familiar with hardwood floors, but back then they had nails through them, and the nail would let go, and the floor would pop. So that's what happened between 1921 and 1927. Well, as we, hi Butch, as we go along, everything kind of started to slow down. Little Harbor Club got built, okay? Club Manitou got built, Roaring Brook Hotel, Ramona Park Casino. They all started taking a little bit away from us, all right? So in 27, he said, well, all right, to his family, he said, Earl was one of the kids, now it's on there. Louis, come with me, and we're gonna go down, and I've been invited down to Ann Arbor, Michigan. I go, okay. He went down there and bought a restaurant at the corner of State and Liberty in Ann Arbor. So you University of Michigan people will know where I'm talking about. When he went down there, he started the restaurant, did fine, everything was going great. Then his wife took ill and died. After 2 years, he goes, I'm out of here. Sold the restaurant, came north. He sold it to a friend, one of the people that worked at the restaurant with him. He then came up and bought what is called the Argonne today. He also bought the Blackstone. Now this is the picture of Blackstone on fire, but that was after we sold it. They wouldn't pay, so we just Now, the Argonne in Charlevoix, if you notice here and over there, he went in and he said, okay, Charlevoix, would you do me a favor? He says, what? He said, I'm running a gas-powered machine for electricity. So he went and paid Charlevoix to run electrical all the way out, because you know how far it is from downtown. It's on Point City Road. So he's the first one to ever put electricity in that building. There was also the time of refrigeration just coming in now. He put refrigeration in, coolers, everything. Fixed it right up, put a dance band in there. 3 years they operated that, okay? I'll tell you why, not why they sold. He then went down and bought the Blackstone. Well, the Blackstone is located right next to Meyer Hardware in Petoskey. It's the big hole there, all right? That's the burnout. That's the place that burned out. In doing that, they were a sandwich shop, okay? The story is that Kraft Foods said, Ed, why don't you become a wholesaler? He said, what on earth are you talking about? He said, you use 700 gallons of mayonnaise in July and August. That's the sandwiches. Now, what happened then is in 32, Harbor Springs had its very first depression. Everything went in a handbasket. In 32, Grandpa said, well, let's do this. He says, let's sell that for just what mortgage I've got in it. Let's get it out of there. He sold this one to a friend for whatever, you know. He went back, double mortgaged the Harbor Springs restaurant and was able to hang on. My dad told me today, he said, you know, if he would have done bankruptcy, he'd have still been here. Well, Ed said, no, I don't do that. I'm not doing that. So he became the honest man and didn't. These are some of the Harbor Springs, Charlevoix, Petoskey menus, the three we were talking about. Those are the three operations right there. And remember, we had the boat for the ice cream. We were transporting. This is just another to tell you that we were at the dance club. I gotta get used to this pointer, I guess. And then, let's see, we are in 32, 33. 33, Prohibition ended. But remember, when we were cabaret, we were a soda fountain. So we'd give them all the soda pops, and they'd bring in their stuff and set it. Well, we thought we'd go legitimate. Yeah. Anyway.
I'll find the slide, just go ahead.
Okay, good. Now, when we're gonna back up just for a minute for, we'll tell you in a minute.
I'm getting there.
She's better backing up than I am. I gotta turn around and look. There it is. When we were experimenting with the soda fountain, we already made, we were able to make our own thin chocolate. Made it for sundaes, made it for chocolate milks, made it for whatever. And that was one of our things we made.
What year was this? Because we're back.
We're back between let's see. I want to say we're between 1919 and 1924 somewhere. And we were in the kitchen. Well, they had the fire back then was coal. You put the coal in the big stove, you know, it was a flat top. You never knew what temperature it was at. So what he did is that, I love that, Kate, sorry. What he did one day, he says, you know, I'm going down fishing, you watch my chocolate. Okay. Well, back then you had to put them in double boilers because, man, everything was no temperatures. Well, he came back and the darn thing had boiled dry and it was hard as a rock, or it was, it was very, very hard, right? So he gets up there and she goes, he said, wait a minute. So Ed starts stirring it and he goes, what'd you do? He said, this stuff is great. Tasted it and he goes, my heavens, we'll call it bittersweet. There's the thundercloud. The vanilla,
My bad.
the vanilla, the bittersweet, the vanilla, the bittersweet, and the homemade marshmallow. I didn't bring any homemade marshmallow. We just happen to have something right now for you. Did you remember getting a card? Yes. All right. It's time. Did anybody get a heart? No. Did anybody get a diamond? No. Did anybody get a spade?
Yes.
Ah, it's a club. And we're narrowing it down. It's higher than 3, lower than an 8. How about a 7? This is the actual burned up product. Here it is, bittersweet.
Was it Swiss chocolate?
No, it was bitter chocolate. It's a dark chocolate. And the recipe is,
Yeah. Same with the marshmallow, right?
yeah, I lost that marshmallow recipe too. I don't
You'd
know.
always make it after everybody left.
I did, yes. I think it happens to be an old employee, by the way. Now, during when this is all happening, they had what they called the Greyhound of the North. Okay, it was in Missouri. This boat would come in and say, they'd jump off the boat and they'd come in and say, Ed, what do you need? He said, well, I need 2 heads of lettuce, some carrots, give me some of that good cheese. That boat went back down to Chicago, filled his order, and came back. That was called the Greyhound of the North. Not just for him, but for all the places around. They go down, do the shopping, come back. You know, you call Walmart. Walmart, I want to, anyway.
Do you want, you talked about the depression, we talked about the car, gas.
That's terrible.
Is that next?
No, I want to go to 33, which is,
The next, I think we're, that,
no, I want to go one more.
that.
No, I want to go back 2. One more. There it is. In 1933, we ended prohibition. So Grandpa said, hey, let's make some money. We haven't made anything anyway. You know, we lost our restaurants, we've done this. Let's go into the tavern business. This is the actual tavern license, but just a different year. I've got the other years, but I don't have actually the 33 year. I had the other years. My son even took one of my birth year, and it's on the wall at my place. He did that for me. Okay, and what happens here is that in 33, they said, hey, let's do it. So they still had the restaurant and the ice cream parlor on the left. Well, there's no TV, there's nothing, okay? The boats would come in, the cruise ships, 600 people on the boat. Well, 599 came to Juilleret for a beer. He said he'd be double-fisting them out the door. So anyway, we did that for a long time. And again, this is just another one of those things that he had for punch cards for the weekly kids. They could come down and they could punch it out and not be spending it otherwise. All right, next slide. Okay, this is just some, it's on your folder, but this is just a presentation. It said Joseph Alvin, J-A-J again, married, and they had Judith, William, Don, and James. I'm the James, of course. My sister, she was born in 36. Well, about 40, 44, 45, this was her restaurant, right here. It was an ice cream and custard stand with popcorn machine on it. That popcorn machine, by the way, is in the Historical Museum in Petoskey. She ran that as the summer while she was back in college, and et cetera, and that's what she did there. This is just a picture of when they went to tavern business. Frankenmuth beer, I don't even know if you know that existed, but that's Frankenmuth beer. And this is just a boosting up of where we are. In 1941, they were required by the United States government, if you were in the service, to be on ships for 2 weeks. Okay? We had 5 ships come in all the time, different times. Of course, they had to come and get a beer. So we were still going strong. This, by the way, this is the planked whitefish that was started in 1932 by my grandfather. In 32, and it's still we kind of fine-tuned it all the way out till 207. This menu was, it's funny, the government required all restaurants to post in the front window during the war the menu. It could never be raised. The prices were frozen. For 5 years they were frozen. Another thing was, I don't know if you're familiar, but there was gas rationing, correct? Well, Harbor Point, Wisconsin, let's hire the Missouri, a boat ferry, bring all our cars up. So they brought all their cars up, dropped them off here in Harbor Springs in the spring, put them all back on the same ferry, hustled them back down. They beat the gas shortage. Okay? Because the Missouri was coal-fired, okay? And the gasoline up here, you could ration it, but it was enough to get you through the summer. So they brought the cars up, they still had they could still do whatever. Okay, next please. Oh, wow, look at here. Who's the handsome devil here? Yeah. Anyway, this is my family, my dad, and one of them's missing. Remember we talked about Judy, my oldest sister? She was probably taking the picture. And this is William, or Bill. You know Bill's right around town, I'm sure. He might have worked on your cottages. And Don was also one of them. And then this is, of course, Joe and Marie. That was the picture taken just before, well, back up a little bit. In 45, Ed had a stroke. So Louis, which is Joe's brother, and Joe took over the restaurant from 45 to 46 as co-owners. Well, they did that till 51, and then 51, movies, nobody came to the movies anymore. TV was coming in. Everybody stayed home. You know, why? So they looked at each other and went. So Louis decided that he would go to Charlevoix and start a restaurant. I don't know if you're even familiar with it, but it was called Juilleret's Coffee Cup. And he ran that forever, and his son had since taken over and it's not there now, but they ran it for very successful for a long time. Well, in '51, my mother came to work. She started baking all homemade pies, everything, and they started to introduce different things to the menu to try and build up the dinner business. Well, they did that successfully in the summer, but in the wintertime, there was nothing. Harbor Point's gone, Weekly's gone. There wasn't Birchwood, there wasn't, you know, let's be realistic. 5 seconds out of Harbor Springs was all field. So anyway, nothing there. So what he did is that he, in, let's see, 57, he was asked to go down to Florida for a year, and he opened up a restaurant for a guy down there and got him all squared around and showed him different things about how the aspects of the restaurant, and closed during the summer, or during the winter, just operated summer. Well, 58 came along, and he went to Otsego Ski Club and did that for them. Well, 59, a guy by the name of Norm Sarge.
No.
You know him as No. No? Because it's called Nubs Now. He came up and said, Joe, I heard you go do all this stuff in the winter. He said, well, I sure do. How would you like to be a shareholder in Nubs Now and run the kitchen? Whoa, I don't know. So my father helped found Nubs Now all the way through. The first year, we as a family, my brother Don and I, we had Model A's. We loved Model A's. So we had a flatbed.
How old were you guys?
Let's see, I was...
Not old enough to drive.
My first car, I was 14, I was driving it outside, and Al Rieger was still looking for me. Anyway, so we loaded all the furniture. When the Nubs first started, all they did is they built a basement. That was all they could do, because they were trying to get skiing for their lives. So my dad and Don and myself, we loaded up a Model A flatbed with all our furniture to take out there, because we needed a cafeteria line and wherever else to sit. So we take the first corner. Remember, it's a flatbed. Well, everything kind of ended up in the brush, but we finally were able to get it out there, and that's our story about Nubs Now. Joe stayed there until about 1960, I think, and helped them all the way through. Even when Doris took over, he was still there. All right, next, please. This is how we looked at the restaurant when we took it over, my wife and I. Okay? This is you always have to have a front man. Well, guess who's the front man? Mike Miller. All right. Mike was with us for, oh gosh, I don't even know, but I was his best man in his wedding. We lived together. We go back. How's that? And we actually got along together working. I think that was amazing. So this is us taking over, but previous to this, I was in the service. Okay? Remember, first generation was in the service, I'm in the service. Okay, I got drafted, of course. I did my duty. Can you find it, Kate?
No. Yes, I'll work on it. Yes.
In 1970, I was drafted and spent several years in the service, and I said to Dad, I said, you know, Dad, I said, we're slipping. We got to do something with the lunch meeting. He goes, well, so I get a roll of quarters, put them by my phone, by the payphone, in the military district of Washington. That's where I was stationed. Kept feeding it, did this for about, I don't know, 3 or 4 days. We came up with the Big J. That's the Big J Club. Actually, Dad got done and he goes, Jim, you really did a great job. We'll call it the Big Jim. No. We're not doing that. So it became the Big J, and that's why the J is there, but everybody thinks it's Juilleret, which is fine with me. Since since the 70s, back up two. In 73, I came back from service and I said, Dad, I'd really like to work year round. He said, well, Jim, you know, there's not much here in the winter. So I said, okay. So I went to Petoskey and bought a restaurant. I bought the Holiday House. It was owned by Ray Beals. I bought that in 1973. It was my year-round operation. It would then be called Juilleret's of Petoskey. My wife just happened to be one of the waitresses there, and she is my wife. 51 years. Now, so I said to her, I said, you know, Dad, in 1975, now it's only a couple years down. When we were already married. We got married in 74, I think. 74? Of course we got married in 74, it's February. Anyway, going back, I said to her, my dad wants to retire, what do you think? She goes, oh my heavens. Okay, let's try it. So in 74, we bought Juilleret's in Harbor Springs. This is what it was back then. That was that big sign that I showed you in 67. So whatever improvements since then, my wife and I have done. We worked side by side in the Petoskey operation, and we worked side by side in the Harbor Springs operation. Together, we worked. No fights. No disagreements. Just a lot of fun. Anyway, so we bought that in 75, and then we ran it until 82. Well, 82, we looked at each other and said, you know, family. So we were, at one given time, in the summer, between the two restaurants, we had a payroll of 106. So we decided that let's kind of fold up and get rid of about half of that. So we did sell the restaurant and moved along.
Do you want to do a bumper sticker?
Oh, how about a menu? How about one? Sure. The next drawing,
I hope
get
you
your
kept
stuff
your cards.
ready.
We didn't want to disappoint.
Here we go.
That's beautiful.
All right. Who knows anything about movies? Who's the funny guy in the movies? He's the Joker. The Red Joker. Okay. We're in the category of giving something else away. Who has the 6 of spades? Okay, you get a bumper sticker. Right behind it's the 7. Over there in the front.
Sorry, I think we're at the last.
Oh, you want to do some?
No, I'll get it to the last one.
Okay.
There's only like 2 more.
As we went through, all of our kids froze ice cream. All of our kids worked on soda fountains. All of our kids either waited at the table or cooked in the kitchen, just like our family before that. We tried to make it fun. We said, here's your ice cream. Make whatever you want. They made gummy bear and Batman, and named whatever they want. I put the jacket on, we'd sell them. So we were just trying to do fun things with our kids as they were required to work with us. It's funny because each year we look at each other and go, okay, whose turn is it? Well, Sarah was actually one of the instigators of a lot of these, but if Kate wants to help me pick this up, please. Each year we did a new shirt. These are just some of the shirts that you may have seen us wear. Okay? Nice. Or this one. Some of them, like it says there, oh boy, what's it say?
This one's the best place around to stop in and dine. Come join us and celebrate year 109.
Then there was the Big J Club, of course. Home of the Big J Club.
Don't leave harbor without one.
Don't need Harbor. Anyway, that's just some of them. There was, oh, I don't know.
And we had someone make this for us.
Yes, we had someone make this for us. He's still in the building. He likes to take ceiling tiles down. Okay. What we did since then was we gave up our property for the walkway. We instigated the very first outside patio. Okay. We also, inside the building, opened up the building and made it more friendly for people, more wheelchair accessible and everything for bathrooms, etc. Okay. We also upgraded all the furniture. What else did we do? We did about everything.
Do you want to introduce our family?
Yes, I will. This is the present day family. They're here. They probably don't want to stand up, but we'll let them do it. This is our oldest, Jason. Second is Kate. And this is Sarah. She's in Florida right now. Okay. And this one right here, my sidekick, Marty. And of course, the good looking one. Anyway,
That's it?
just kind of scenario, they always say that whenever you have a speech, whatever you start with, let's finish with it, okay? Well, J.A. Juilleret was married to Martha Juilleret, he was a serviceman 112 years later. J.A.J., serviceman, Martha is her real name, you call her Marty. Thank you for your time.